Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
It's 6 o'clock, a little thereafter. The first meeting ran over. This is the joint board meeting. It's Tuesday, January 28, 2016. I'll call the meeting to order. Additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that will require modification or ratification at a future meeting.
I have none.
Board members? Hearing none. Approve the minutes of the joint board special meeting December 27th. Take a motion.
So approved.
Seconded. Do we hear a second?
Yep.
Seconded. Okay. Motion been made and seconded. Any corrections, deletions, additions? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor would vote aye. On the select board first.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And on the village trustee side, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Motion for the minutes are accepted. Public comment on the item is not on the agenda. 3 minutes per person. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go right to the agenda. First item is the alumni parade.
I'll just do a super brief manager's report if that's all right. Just 2 items that are coming up, 2 scheduled items. The property owners meeting is scheduled for February 12th. Everyone's invited. That's at noon in this room, and people can bring their lunch. And we're going to talk about impacts of drugs in rental properties, and also on ways that property owners can get financial help to improve their properties, and that's private property owners. And then February 13th, the next day, is the last visit of BCRD, and that's going to be in the evening. It's on a Thursday, so firefighters might be able to attend. And the 3 top topics will be discussed. And I'll be attending the building one, saving buildings in Bellas Falls. And then there's also a youth center idea. And then energy conservation is the 3rd one. So those 3 will be going on concurrently. They have 20 to 30 people signed up for each thing to help work on it, not just go to the meeting. So you might be interested in that.
Where is it being held?
At the middle school.
At the middle school.
And that's it.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the agenda. First item is the alumni parade permits. Usual yearly duty we have here. In front of us we have in the packet application for reduced waiver, fee for the waiver for the use of the Waypoint Center, and reduce the waiver fee for the theater and entertainment permit. And the village needs to approve the use of alcohol on town-owned property.
4 different items in here. Yes.
So, there are alumni members here. I saw 2 in command. You're welcome to speak to it if you'd like.
I was just going to say thank you for having us here. And you have all the paperwork here, so if you needed to read through it or not. But we are looking forward to, we're starting our planning now. So hoping to get these permits in place so we can start the process and start moving forward for June.
Okay, does any members of the board have any questions?
You guys will go first.
Yeah.
Let's go first. And the village will do the second.
Seeing and hearing none? We want to make a motion to approve the application for use of alcohol on municipal property.
And the fee waivers and the theater. Right?
You could do one motion for all 3 if you like. Sorry, we didn't prepare the motions for you, but you can do one for all 3 that's on the
Sounds good to
select
me.
board.
As soon as we get it done.
All right, I move that we reduce the, we approve the reduced fee waiver for the use of the Waypoint Center, reduce the
approve the reduced fee waiver for the theater and entertainment permit, and approve the use of alcohol on town property
Second.
for the alarm system.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to reduce the fee waiver for the use of Waypoint Center, reduce the fee waiver for the theater and entertainment permit, and approval of all use of alcohol on town property. In discussion. Seeing and hearing none, all those vote in favor would they say aye?
Aye.
All those opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Okay, on the village trustees side, we have a letter here requesting open bottle ordinance waiver for the dance at the Waypoint Center, noise ordinance waiver for the dance at the Waypoint Center, parade and open air event permit fee waiver for both Waypoint Center and the parade, and a fee waiver request to hang the banner. So we need, if there's any, we need someone to make the motion, second, and then if there's any discussion at all on this item.
I'll make the motion, but we need to remove the fee waiver for the hanging banner. Right on the application it states there
It's
are
not
no fee
waived.
reductions or waivers, but this would qualify for the reduced fee as it being an eligible organization. So instead of 150.
Okay. So the fee, so the
So-
banner is at 50?
Yeah, instead of 100.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's the reduced, so it's the reduced price,
It's
not the
reduced,
waiver.
yeah, it's reduced price to hang the banner.
So I'll make the motion that we approve the open bottle ordinance waiver for the dance at the Waypoint Center, the noise ordinance waiver for the dance at the Waypoint Center, the waiver fee for the parade and open air event for the Waypoint Center and the alumni parade, and to approve the fee waiver to the reduced $50
To hang the banner.
to hang the banner.
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion on this? It's always great to have you guys do that and share, and all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? None, all right. You
Yeah,
have
I
it.
just wanted to say on behalf of the Alumni Association, it really makes a difference for us. The ones who are planning and doing the work to have the support of the town at all levels. It makes a big difference and helps us to pull off a successful weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank
for your
you.
support.
Thanks for your work. I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You're on 2 years in a row.
Can't wait to see the votes.
Yeah. Hopes for another good year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, signatures to do, okay. Before moving on to item number 2.
You're gonna choke the horse.
I know. That's a lot of forms. Usually we do them in separate meetings, so.
Yeah, but they thought,
And wait,
they wanted to
what's
do it
the-
at one meeting. I thought it made sense.
I think there's something
Yeah.
that says municipal manager on it.
Are they all municipal signed by you?
It's, some are by me, some are,
Right.
but as long as you guys approve them.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, sign where it says for you to sign, we're fine.
It says municipal manager or designee, well, that's you. And municipal manager and lastly municipal manager, okay.
Okay.
So pass that back forward, thank you.
Yes,
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, second item on the agenda is a personnel rules update. To start this off, I would suggest just a little history. Back in August, I believe, we had a meeting with all the employees and some staff. And at that point, the manager made a recommendation or suggestion that we take her and the HR person go back and review all the language in this to make sure there was no conflicts with the state or federal regulations. That has been done, and so we're here tonight to take comments on what's been updated, and I would recommend that when we get done with our part here, that it gets remanded back to that employees committee for their input. So with that, I'll take suggestions if anybody's had a chance to review all this.
Is there any board comment?
Do you want me to go through it a little bit?
Yes, please.
Sure.
So the underline, it's the traditional thing where the underline is new and the strike through is supposed to be deleted. I won't go through every single thing because that would take 2 hours.
Get the high points.
Just one thing that, a typo that I just noticed today, there's a distinction between privileges and benefits. And sick leave is moving from a privilege to a benefit, basically because of the state law. So we have to provide it. Now, we provide it at a higher level than state law, but we're still putting it in the benefits category. So if you look on pages 2 and 3, sick leave is shown as underlined under benefits and under privileges. So we need to have it as a strike through under privileges and put it under benefits.
Okay, so we'll be struck through on privileges, J.
Yeah, and most of the
benefits.
Most of the definitions changes are just changes in employee titles, that kind of thing. Something that is, I think, would be important to the representatives is, and obviously we'll talk about this at the meeting with them, is on page 4, that the formal review of the rules this language requires that it be done 3 months before the end of collective bargaining agreement, which I don't really understand the intent of that because that's too late of a deadline. If you waited until 3 months before, you're really cutting yourself close because these do obviously impact the bargaining agreements. So when we talked about this, I think if it's going to be in here, it should be a year in advance, but there was no consensus, so it was just decided to delete the requirement for the 3 months, but it doesn't mean that they wouldn't be reviewed. You know, the document should obviously be reviewed more frequently. I mean, I would do it every couple of years. If nothing else, just so you know what it says.
Instead of 8 years. Oh, actually, there was an amendment in January 2017, the last time they're actually all gone over 2020.
Right. So, so then the other things are like adding email as a way to notify people. There are changes, firefighters are deleted, the reference to firefighters, because we just have one paid firefighter now. We have call firefighters, but it's different than the previous full-time firefighters that we had. Like on page 6, the 30 to 40 hour weekly schedules. This was written in a very complicated way. So the changes here are not intended to change what the rules are. They just make it more understandable. I just want you guys to know when you're reading it. And then like his and her has been changed. One thing that we did change that is a change is that, and I don't think we've been doing this, but there's a provision in here to allow employees to use municipal property for their private use if they get permission of the manager. I just think that's a terrible idea. So I would strongly recommend against people using municipal equipment for their personal use. And I don't think, I hope we're not doing it, but that's a conversation. But that's something that is a change. We have the social media policy in there. So let me think of what else is. Put some deadlines in where there weren't deadlines. Added a section for privileges. Previously there was just a section for benefits, not for privileges. So we put privileges together so that it would, again, hopefully be more clear, which meant that we had to move performance evaluation to another section, but that isn't changed. So I think
Cannabis was added to the list.
right, because now cannabis is like alcohol.
Right.
It's in that category, so it says that you can't have alcohol or cannabis on you at work. So hopefully that's not going to be a big deal. Why don't you wait until, because you need to be right next to that chair.
On you or in you?
Both. You can't have them on you at work.
You can't be intoxicated.
You can't be intoxicated.
It's both.
Or you're not supposed to have alcohol with you at work either. I mean, if you want to go over that, we can. That's on page, but there was already a provision to say you can't have alcohol. so we added cannabis to that. That's possession or use. Yeah, page 10, you're right. Where it says, following, it's in the disciplinary actions and, or in the things that lead to disciplinary response. So it says, following present minimum of a written warning, and it did say possession or use of alcohol on the job. So we added or cannabis to the alcohol.
Right.
So that seems pretty
It
reasonable.
doesn't fit under illegal drugs and alcohol use, so it has to be.
Yeah, and fortunately, I mean, with the CDL that a lot of our employees have, that's not ever going to be an issue, because that's a much more intense requirement, high level of requirement. So these should just be administrative, but I think it's fine to slow down and meet with everyone. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, some of the other changes were just spelling errors, and for from, and just,
Right, housekeeping stuff.
yeah, housekeeping stuff, basically. The manager sit on most of the high points.
And the attorney was in attendance during while these changes were made.
Sorry?
The attorney was in attendance,
Right.
was in attendance when these changes were made.
Yeah, he reviewed the changes, he wasn't at all of the meetings.
No, he was
Trying to
at
minimize
the
our
last
costs.
one as we went over, so.
Any questions by the board or boards? Public comment?
I have one question.
You go first, and I'll get it.
Under the vacations, page 19, would have been 6. Why did we remove that?
Sorry?
Oh, compensation might, maybe offered in lieu of earned vacation
Yeah.
time? If you want, sure.
So employees, in significant amounts were cashing in their vacation time instead of using it, and that's not, we don't budget for that. And it says in here, if there's extraordinary circumstances, it needs to be approved by the manager, but people were cashing it in on a quarterly basis and using it to budget. And we have weaned people off of that, but it's just unreasonable and tear your budget up.
And we are looking for other ways to find safety nets, actually. We're looking in our banking.
But if someone who wasn't cashing in quarterlies in this and they had a financial hardship, of any of these number of reasons listed, they would be, these funds wouldn't be available to them. I think it's important that these funds be available to someone in an emergency. So it sounds like they're removing it from everyone because a couple people used it.
I would say only a couple people have used it. The vast majority of this is supposed to be special circumstances such as extended public emergency, disaster, pandemic, extensive and long-lasting seasonal projects, or other extenuating circumstances outside of the normal operation of the department, personal financial hardship, reporting for military duty, termination, short or long-term disability, or significant family illness. That's lots of reasons. We haven't had that many people, but
And none of them have used it for anything like this. They're just cashing, they're building up their vacation, cashing it in. And before.
But should an employee have
There are options.
significant family illness,
There are
short or
options
long-term
for
disability,
that.
personal financial hardship, seems like they've earned this.
if everyone does this, then we blow our
We
budget.
can't be.
But
And-
I
Don't you have to approve it?
To me, it's taking it away from everyone because of a few people.
I would just insert that, please refer to page 3 because it lists it as a privilege, just like driving, that can be taken away. Vacation time is not listed as a benefit, which you have to give. It's a privilege. It's different. It's treated differently. Therefore, vacation leave
Vacation
is
time is
paid
a
for
benefit.
vacation. It's not paid, it's not something that's cashed out. It's supposed to be
The first sentence
used.
says, with the approval of the municipal
Well,
manager.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So it's not on, it's on the municipal manager
So,
to deny
So-
or
Correct.
approve.
Correct.
And what's been happening is the municipal manager hasn't been,
so in
and it's just been being cashed, right?
recently.
Well, I
we-
just started denying it.
Recently,
Okay.
it's been
a problem.
denied,
Yeah.
but previous managers
Ah.
were allowing people to cash out their quarterly banks
I understand that, but it seems pretty clear that with approval and the conditions for the
Right, we're just
approval are
looking
here.
long-term because it seems as though the previous managers allowed certain employees to cash out significant things.
And that's on, but that seems like that's not a problem for the personnel rules and conduct. That's a problem with management. So why are we taking this away when it really should have been dealt with at the managerial level and stopping that and saying this doesn't fall within the criteria?
Well, before it gets to your attention, you can already have wrecked your entire budget and not be able to come back from that. You know your personnel is your highest cost. So it was really a security for the municipality because of how it was taken advantage of prior to this.
I understand what has been happening, but I don't think it's right to pull this from them because it had been abused. I think the right statement to make is we are changing our policy and it must fall within these lines to be approved, and it will not be rubber stamped because it had been taken advantage of.
I think it's important to have some sort of safety net, and so we're trying to find an alternative. This is, the way this is written, it just has not been, it's waiting for abuse, basically.
Well, it is if the manager is not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
So this is on you or the manager.
yeah, and-
Well, we haven't allowed this
Well,
to happen.
that's perfect. So I don't see it. So what I'm saying is, in the past, I see a problem.
Oh, yeah.
In the future, when your staff is on it, I don't see a problem.
I have a question. Comment. So if you're now using it to your discretion, then why take it away from everyone else? And then my last is there something else in place right now? Not we're working on something. Should an employee fall into any one of these categories to compensate them financially? And lastly, on the town side, if someone was wanting to work rather than take a vacation, it's the same as overtime to me.
No.
In the town, we don't know how much it's going to snow, so we get large amounts of overtime. So if an employee said, I'd rather work, and you put them to work working and pay them and they cash in their vacation time, it's essentially you send them home and not work and give them the money, or they go to work. That's how I see it. It's separate, but I just want to know that if you're removing this entire, what I would say, emergency fund, we need something in place, or put this back in and keep it at the manager's discretion. Because if someone has a flood of family illness and they have to go, what's in place right now that would keep them financially, that's it.
Yeah, okay. So, a couple of things. Cashing out vacation time is much different than cashing out comp. When you earn comp time, that's essentially overtime. And that's built into our budget and we schedule for it. If
I wasn't comparing it to comp time.
Hold on. If you have, 120 vacation hours built up, and you cash that out and you work every single one of those hours, that's not in the budget. It's only in the budget enough time for them to do overtime according, seasonal, or we budget for that. But if every highway guy cashed out 60 to 80 hours of vacation on top of that, we could never find, that's not in our budget.
But this isn't being adopted tonight.
Right.
We have time to work on it, so we'll take your concern.
There is comp time that they can always cash out. So they're allowed to build up an 80-hour comp and cash that out at their discretion. They don't need approval from anybody, not even their supervisor, because it's earned overtime. And then we are working with People's Bank to do a $1,500 loan without credit approval that you pay back through your paycheck.
The line of credit?
Right, on an individual basis. So when you open a savings account, you get a $1,500, you can get up to a $1,500 personal loan to pay it back because it's through our payroll processing bank. So we are looking at other avenues. This isn't a good one for the employees anyway, because vacation time is supposed to be time that you can step away. It was never meant to be
paid out.
Right.
And we also want to look at financial literacy too, classes, we've been talking about that.
I understand it wasn't designed for that, but I think if someone who likes to work and they have 60 days and then something happens to their family or them financial, or one of the events listed, then that's what it's for.
I know with as many employees as we have it, if there was some kind of like a disaster and there was a huge flood here and all of our homes were ruined, when we all cashed in 100 hours of vacation time, you guys would be buried. I mean, that's impossible to do. We don't have it in the budget.
But also, I mean, realistically, if there is an extended public emergency or a disaster or a pandemic, there's all sorts of emergency things that we can do in an emergency that we don't normally do. But I understand the concern.
It's more on an individual thing, not it happening to everyone. I understand that comparison, but we'd all be in trouble if that happened. Everyone.
We'd be broke anyways because the town wouldn't be able to.
So I'm looking at it as an individual.
It was just a significant amount of people were being allowed to do that, and this was just trying to, in the event you have a changeover in the municipal manager, because before you see it hitting your financials, it's too late.
And
there's no oversight by the
there are board members who were on this, who did this in the personnel changes. It was not just done by management. Peter was there, Jigs was there, I was there.
Where does it go from here?
It goes back to, we're going to remand it back to the general committee. I think there's like 12 or 15 people that all met. And then they can have their input at that point. I think that's where the negotiation point comes up, and we'll get it done there. I think that's the best place rather than sit here and try and dish it out.
Sure. I mean, it's our only opportunity, I think, to discuss it.
Right. True, but I mean, yeah, as a board, I mean, but.
Well, then it would come back to you.
Right.
Because this has to be adopted by the board.
Giving my input.
But I think it's fair to get the input from the employees.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then there was one.
They gotta live with it as well as we do, so, I mean, there's no sense of putting up a stone wall and say, this is it, and.
Well, you're asking, she was asking for us to, according to the date, it's to be approved tonight,
Yeah.
January 28th.
Right, well, that was the plan that we had, but it's fine. There was one member of each of the boards on that group, on the personnel rules committee is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm the alternate, Jigs wanted me.
Well, that's a different group.
That's a different group, yeah. No, yeah.
But, so it will be one of you, I think, unless you don't want to. I mean, but you can tell me that later. I'll organize the group.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. The alternate, it was Judge McCall and myself, Judge the trustee, myself, and LeVar, and Gaetano and Debbie were alternates.
For this
So,
committee?
Not for this.
I don't think there were alternates. It was
Not
just
for
you
that,
and
that was for the
Jigs,
negotiating committee, we allowed to go into that
No,
meeting.
anyway, but you're welcome to attend it, so. That being said, any other comments? Did you have a comment, Michelle?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. You have to bear with me. I have stage fright sometimes in front of groups of people, so. You guys are discussing number 6. If there's compromise and you want to keep that in, can you incorporate some type of max dollar amount? If it all can't be an agreement for that whole paragraph to be.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it can be anything, yeah. I mean, it's just whatever is acceptable to.
Instead of deleting it out completely, to have some type of compromise where people aren't using and abusing their compensation level.
Yeah,
In lieu of a
there could be a
vacation
max,
time?
yeah.
So maybe something like that can be considered and leave it in.
That's what I'm remaining back to the committee so they can, negotiate it out. That's the best way to do it.
And I also have to
Find out
come,
what's fair for everybody, and that
Okay.
way, if it comes out in the end, if we just put it down as a brick wall, then it's gonna create problems on the road, so.
I also like to comment on page 10, I have backup. I believe if we don't define cannabis, you will have issues arise. There needs to be a clear distinction put in place. And I document, according to legalities, hemp-derived CBD is legal if it contains 0.3% THC or less under the Agricultural Act of 2018. In the Controlled Substance Act, marijuana was grouped with all types of cannabis and was made illegal to grow in the U.S. This unfortunately classified hemp as a drug, even though it doesn't include any of the chemicals that make marijuana a drug. The definition of what is classified as marijuana, cannabis, or hemp are quite clear, at least according to the codes of the United States. I have further, I don't want to continue reading, but there are people with medical needs that use hemp-derived cannabis. So that's important, and it comes in all different forms. And I think that needs to be clearly defined when it comes to personnel. So I have this to present to the board if you'd like.
Sure.
Do you want it?
Sure, I'll take it, yeah.
Okay.
It'll get to the okay, thank you.
Central location.
Okay, great.
Okay,
So if you want to make a motion to just, or, I mean, I get your direction, go before the
Well,
board.
why don't we just give the manager direction to set up a joint meeting with the personnel and we'll discuss it.
Yeah, when you say joint meeting, you're not talking the board, you're talking
Right.
staff, right?
The representatives and
Yep.
and the HR and the manager.
Sure.
Trustees have any input here?
I'm fine with that. I think that taking a little extra time isn't occurring right here.
He'll have to come back to that, he'll have to come back to us.
And they'll come
Right,
back,
they can come
we'll
back
come back
to
to
us.
the board for adoption anyway.
Right, but they can either come back to a joint board
Or a
in 2
single.
months or a single board,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
For our portion of the signature. Okay?
Okay, so we should know that. Any questions out there from the peripheral here? Seeing hearing none, we'll move on
No, I
to,
think,
Yeah, I got one. Did you come up with a date to sit with it, or are you gonna announce that later to go over some of it?
Yeah, I'll let you know. We can talk tomorrow about it. Yeah, because,
I didn't know if that had to be
decision.
open.
No, it's not
No.
gonna, if there's just one of each of them, it doesn't have to be.
Thank you. Appreciate
we'll
it.
be 10 on it, we'll throw a few dates out there and
Okay,
one that everybody can get to, is probably 111.
perfect, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll go down to other business. John, we'll start with you on that end.
I'm all set.
I'm all set.
Gary?
All set.
Debbie?
Set.
I have one. When are we getting that damn elevator fixed?
We're talking about it.
It's been going on, what, 3-4 months now?
they sent an email to Brenda today to ask her to pay the invoice. And Brenda came in and thought I had missed it, but I was holding it because they haven't done the work. So the woman from billing said, I'll get in touch with the guy and have a date for installation. So she's getting back to us tomorrow.
Did you tell them, like, you would love to pay it, but the
Yeah.
checkbook is at the bottom of the elevator? And
Yeah.
as soon as the elevator works, you can get the checkbook
But
back.
they haven't been answering our calls, so at least this was like some.
Right.
Yeah, some, one of the Gophers parked, pump their heads out.
Yeah, no, it's really awful how long
really
this has
awful.
taken.
And there's no one else.
We've tried to find other companies
That's why you
to
talk
do this.
about-
I was saying,
Train
I would
somebody to
love
do
to train somebody. Anybody out there have an elevator repair?
Elevator training?
Come over. Yeah, so maybe soon.
Tom, you have anything? Ben? All right, agenda items for the next board meeting, it'll be March 31st, 2020, joint board.
Well, hopefully I mean, that would be probably the worst case
Yeah.
of the personnel rules. That would be the longest it would take.
We go
I
up.
don't have anything else.
I make a motion we adjourn.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Oh,
We have an executive session.
We do.
All right, we do. All right, who wants to make the motion?
We have to do both sides.
I didn't realize we
You
had
have to
one.
think.
I move that the board enter executive session to discuss appointment or employment or evaluation of public officer or employee. The public body must make a final decision to hire or appoint in an open meeting and must explain the reasons for its final decision. State pursuant to Title I, Section 313A2.
Second. Second. Any discussion?
I would like to know what it's about.
It's to appoint appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee.
I'm just not aware of it, and I would be the one, I would think, that you would be discussing.
Yes, that's right, and we weren't going to invite you into this one, this is.
Oh, that's fine, okay,
Yeah,
good, then I'm fine.
that was what it
Okay.
was, yeah.
Perfect.
And I believe the select board has a
But you
meeting
have the
after
select board,
this.
so you can't run off.
After we're done, but we can, somebody can come down and find you if you're gonna go downstairs. You got, there's another meeting, isn't there?
Yeah, just, following
With
this
one,
meeting.
one item on it.
We need to go over the town meeting warning.
So we'll, so someone will come down to the second floor?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be in the, lobby at the end.
Okay, okay.
Just because our office is closed.
All right, oh, okay, all right. All right, so wait, you seconded it, did anybody move it?
Yes, Ben did.
Yep,
I'm gonna call
All
it.
right, we,
haven't called it yet.
seeing no discussion, all those in favor would say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion
Okay.
carries on our part.
All right, trustees.
Okay, I make the motion that we enter into an executive session where premature general knowledge considers places the board at a substantial disadvantage to discuss the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee. That the public body must make a final decision to hire or appoint in an open meeting, and it must explain the reason for its final decision. 1 VSA 313A3.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on this? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are now in executive session.